Hey, what's up, y'all? My name is Dennis Heil, and I am diagnosed with type 2 bipolar disorder with severe depression and high functioning autism. I've been living with bipolar disorder for over 30 years, 15 of which I spent undiagnosed. In 2009, I experienced a depressive psychotic break that led to my diagnosis of type 2 bipolar disorder. I would be diagnosed with autism a few years later. In my podcast, Bluntly Bipolar, I'm going to share with you my experiences and the hard lessons I've learned trying to find some peace and happiness in my life. I hope that by sharing my experiences, others can avoid learning these lessons the hard way. I'm not a mental health professional. All I am is a mental patient with a microphone. Listener discretion is advised. Anger played a pivotal role in feeding my bipolar disorder and depression, as well as complicating social and emotional matters through my high functioning autism. In this mini-series prefixed on anger, I'll be exploring the role anger played in my mental wellness and how it was used as a weapon to manipulate me as a straight white man from a blue-collar working-class background. This is On Anger, Rebuilding with Intention, Brick by Brick. I have a confession to make to you. It was 17 years ago that I was diagnosed with bipolar disorder with severe depression. It was then that I took my first steps on my wellness journey. The LCSW that diagnosed me wanted me to set a goal for therapy, and I said I just wanted to go for a single week without thinking about suicide. Before that appointment, I've been living with my unmanaged mental illness for about 15 years. I had to sift through the damage and harm that caused me. There is not only the damage from the mental illness itself, but also from my autistic dysfunction and life circumstances. My anger simmered at a low boil in the back of my brain and the pit of my stomach constantly, at least until it boiled over. I would look at the people I perceived to be peaceful and happy, and I never thought I could be like them. I was nothing like them. That seemed too foreign, too distant, too alien. I had no idea how I would ever even come close to reaching that kind of point, so I never thought I could. Deconstruction, therapy, wellness, these things did not lead me to some blissful, ignorant happiness. Instead, it revealed that much of what I felt angry about was rooted in reality. It wasn't all just unreasonable emotions created by the mental illness. Instead, it was my brain picking up on discrepancies and very real problems that my mental illness then blew out of proportion. And that brings me to my confession. I am still an angry man. As I deconstructed, as I worked on my wellness and recovery, I felt a different kind of anger bubbling up in me. At first, I thought it was the wrong way to feel. After all, wasn't the point to be better, to not be angry, to be peaceful and happy? Well, yes and no. One lesson I had to learn the hard way is that the negative emotions that we have, the ones we'd prefer not to experience, are valuable indicators. They are your brain throwing you warning lights, much like the check engine light in your car. The light dings on, and that is your brain telling you that something might possibly be wrong. It doesn't mean that the light is always meaningful or correct, especially when you have a mental illness. That is part of the challenge of self-management. When you have a mental illness, sometimes you feel, think, and experience things that are not rooted in reality, or they're a distortion of reality. Once that light comes on, I know it's time to start troubleshooting for what the cause is, even if the cause is not being mentally well at the time. Deconstruction and therapy did not lead me down a path of serenity and tranquility with the world. Instead, what it did was reveal that I had picked up on a variety of things that are unjust and wrong, but I didn't have the knowledge or language to articulate why, or why I felt so much anger. I didn't realize how pervasive racism, and more specifically anti-black racism, is embedded in the bones of this country, starting with its foundation. All men are created equal, written and signed by slaveholders, which I bet they didn't even entertain as hypocritical. After all, even racists today don't consider black and brown guys as men. They still view them as savages, and you see that reflected in news coverage and the way the propaganda is worded against them. Black fatigue, as if there isn't plenty of meth-fueled white trashiness to go right alongside of it. But that's a thing of the past, allegedly, even though we as a country have done little to nothing to make up for the stolen labor, value, and opportunity of Black folks, not to mention the many, many broken deals that our illustrious government has cut with Indigenous people. Not only that, but because I am a straight white man, I'm supposed to take pride and find value in my whiteness. I'm supposed to subjugate a demure little lady, to strip her of her autonomy and ability to choose, pop out a couple of white sons because that's the real birth crisis, and contribute to keeping this prison running. What do I need emotions for, anyways? Beasts of burden aren't supposed to think or feel. You're just supposed to labor and appreciate that you're not being exploited as much as the next man. All the while preaching the importance of traditional masculinity and masculine integrity, which turned out to be another complete farce. All of that posturing I've heard throughout my life from men who will do anything for their families. They'd kill for their families. All right, will you exercise restraint for them? Will you make space for them when they genuinely need help? For when the predators circle and say, you better not tell anyone, your daddy will try to do something to me and he'll go to jail for a long time. I suppose the coldness and cruelty shouldn't be a surprise. I mean, look at how we treat the vulnerable in our society. Seniors, the handicapped, the disabled, the mentally ill. I've known far too many people who could have had a chance if they were able to get medical help when they needed it. Every suicide and overdose is an indictment of a broken system that exists primarily to extract money. Every homeless person is a reminder of what could have been with meaningful access to support, resources, and opportunities. Every time I see a homeless person, it's a reminder that if my life were just a little bit different, I could be on the streets, in jail, or dead right now. And maybe that'll be my future. Maybe I'll lose access to medical care and medication that help me level out and control my mental illness. Maybe my mental illness will get worse and I'll do a backflip into the deep end. It took me becoming a part of the machine by working in marketing to see it all for what it is. And now I can't unsee the propaganda and manipulation that surrounds us every minute of every day because someone, somewhere has to make a buck or push an agenda. That can be anything from active advertising and propaganda to the passive branding of the monitor I'm looking at as I write this. Deconstruction ignited an entirely different anger in me because I can now see all the times where I was picking up on something that was wrong while being unable to articulate why. All of the discrepancies and hypocrisies of society that we're all just supposed to nod and smile and go along with because that's just the way things are. Well, the way things are is garbage. And they've been garbage for a lot of people who aren't white or wealthy for a long time. I used to think that recovery would lead to peace and happiness, because isn't that what everyone wants? Isn't that what everyone says? Peace and happiness? Just to walk around with a smile on my face and sunshine falling out of my ass? I don't think that's a luxury that's meant for me to permanently own. And that's okay. It's not realistic to expect everything to be all good all the time. Instead, I think the best I can do is continue to try to create peace within myself and use my anger productively. I can create happiness in myself and in life, which isn't a privilege I had for a long time. But I know it's okay if it doesn't last forever. It won't, because nothing does. And that is where we come to reconstruction. Because once you take yourself apart and understand all of the bricks that make up the structure of yourself, you can then decide how to put them back together. You can decide which bricks to keep and which ones to throw away. You can create new bricks and make them part of your new structure, your new self. This also has the added benefit of helping you develop better insight into your own mental state. Understanding why you believe the things that you do and the choices that you make can help you make better choices in the future. It can give you warning signs that things aren't quite right, and maybe it's time to pay more attention to other symptoms or get a med adjustment. You are not doomed to just be the product of your circumstances or experiences. You have more power and control than you may realize. It may not be power over your circumstances, society, or other people's actions, but we all have the power to choose how we respond to these situations. That is what is within my control, and within your control. So let me share with you some of my bricks that I have intentionally placed. I am straight, and any romantic relationship I have must be rooted in mutual respect. That includes being aware of the intangible work and emotional load that can be unequal in a relationship. It includes staying aware of and respecting my partner's bodily autonomy. Similarly, I must demand the same from my own partner to not be turned into an emotionless workhorse, meant to toil until I drop dead. I refuse to be a beast of burden or jailer of anyone. I am white, and I will push back when I see racism or when racists think I'm on their side. I'll do what I can, where I can, to try to push back against the anti-black racism that is embedded deep in this country's laws and institutions. Furthermore, every human being deserves to be treated with dignity and respect, whether or not they are a citizen of the United States, regardless of their skin tone. I'm a man, and I've never felt uncomfortable with that or like I should be anything but a man. I acknowledge that I cannot understand what it's like to be a woman or a trans person in this country. There are some things that I cannot understand because I don't experience them, and that's okay. The best I can do is listen and try to understand where other people are coming from. Everyone deserves the right to be who they are and to be heard. I am mentally ill, and I choose to use that to try to help other people who are walking similar paths. I don't know if I'll ever be able to create the kind of peace and happiness in myself that I would like to have, but maybe you can. Maybe your loved ones can. Maybe my experiences and my words will help you be more understanding and accepting of people who struggle with problems like mine. I am an optimist, and you have no idea how foreign it is for me to say those 4 words. Not only do I sincerely believe that people can change, but I also believe most everyone can improve their quality of mind if they had access to the resources and support they needed. Now, does that mean they would? No, of course not. Change is hard, and if you've been living a hard life, it can be impossible to see how things could be better until you actually arrive at better. To some extent, you have to trust the process more than think about the outcome. To put faith in anything when you're mentally ill is hard, especially when you have depression, because depression traps you in the present moment so often. It's hard to think about tomorrow or 5 years from now or 20 years from now when you just hope you don't wake up tomorrow morning. So that is my confession. I am still angry, but that anger has given way to something much different, an emotion I didn't experience much at all in the depths of my depression. And that is passion. Because instead of numbness and emptiness, I now have the energy and ability to engage with life in ways I struggled to for so many years. I struggled to care. I struggled to value myself. I struggled to hope or think that things could be any different. In fact, I can remember the first time I ever experienced the emotion of hope, and that is when I was diagnosed with bipolar disorder at 29 years old. I reasoned that if I had a sickness and it had a name, then I could understand it and maybe change things for myself. Now, we are often told by people who are selling happiness that so-called negative emotions are the enemy. But what I've come to understand is that it all depends on how you interpret them and how you use them. Anger is a signal that I need to be doing something. It tells me that something matters to me or that something needs my attention. It's something I can walk with as a companion, and it's energy I can pour into passion. Wellness and recovery may not make you blissfully happy or entirely at peace. What wellness and recovery actually gave me was the opportunity to create happiness and peace. The journey that so many people have been trying to figure out for thousands of years. You can look at any religion or philosophy for ample evidence of that. And as a marketer, I think the insinuation that recovery will lead to permanent happiness is really just a sales pitch and the story we tell ourselves more than reality. After all, no one's happy all the time. That idea itself is just more toxic positivity. It's easy to think that happiness is the opposite of depression, that it'll be just as pervasive and absolute. And you see that regularly in bipolar spaces when someone is starting to slide manic and they start experiencing euphoria and they confuse it for happiness. Instead, what recovery gave me was understanding and far more control over myself. That has given me the tools and ability to pour my anger into something productive, to continue to try to cultivate my inner peace and create happy moments throughout my life, even if I don't walk around every day with a smile on my face or sunshine falling out of my ass. Recovery didn't make me a different person. I didn't even know who I was or who I could be since my mental illness set in before I was a teenager. Instead, recovery gave me the tools to hack through the decades of trauma and mental illness that brought me to where I am. It gave me the ability to not only see who I actually was, but to intentionally create myself, to build myself, brick by brick. I am now and will forever be a work in progress. But that's my path, and you have your own. Whatever that may be, I hope it brings you everything you need to build a life worth living, because you deserve that chance as much as anyone else. Thank you for spending your time with me. Don't forget to hit follow and share with someone you think it might help.